Jamie's brief summary.
The Mancharians tell us the definition as well as the parameters of eternity and time or timelessness, contrary to popular notions or our preconceived ideas of them.
March 18, 2014, 3:30 p.m.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whichever suits the mind best. We are the Mancharians. As your creators, we have elected to come to teach you, in order that the majority, if not all of you, continue to progress in your infinite towers of reaching for the best life and love has to offer. The love we speak of is a gate for your understanding, for you need to progress much further before you are ready for relationship love, of which the majority of you know nothing about. Now, synthesized is our conglomerate worlds, which our own forebearers, both husband and wife and man and woman, have selected to be our forerunners, as we are definitely yours. Now, the tendency of the human race at most of your levels, tends upon cultivating that aroma of truth and realization, of which many of you are not yet aware even exists. One of these tendencies is experiencing eternity in our one consciousness, without the physical apparatus. This is an interesting topic, except far from your level of realization at this time, for the majority of you, our offspring and children, are hardly past the level of kindergarten, and have trouble adding one and one make a heap of good old rational common sense. Yet there are others of you, who have not slipped up to the point of almost losing out on your incarnation, having to repeat it all over again for the 5th to 50th time, and it is for your sakes and ken, that we, your forebearers, chose this time in this episode of our book, called Jamie's Book, in honor of our third prophet for our voice piece, that you will all be granted a little look into the future. Now, Jamie, write this down well in your editorial summary, for we have chosen you wisely, and as such do we continue in depending upon your conscientious work. And as you have fashioned this question yourself at our request for you to come up with a new topic, we expect the tie-off to be positively something related to that only, which we give you to hear. Good. Now, let us begin with eternity. Eternity has a fashion of never ending in your understanding, is that not so, little ones? But eternity does have an ending of a sorts, for as soon as the gulf is bridged and lessons of the most part learned, sending sparks out to learn the lessons for themselves, as newly created terminals or people, as you would have it, the process begins all over again. The final and end result of any holy universal, moral, and ethical being, is to understand what it is to formulate into being the universes themselves with all graphic content in place, making the skies, the trees, the forests, the seas, and all which enter therein. And the sparks are little pieces or sperms of ourselves, the male formulating with the ovary of the female. We are one. There is absolutely no separation. We come to the point where we may incarnate at will being one or the other. We even may be both, but that tendency and study is too far above your own imaginations. So for now, we will leave it alone and come to the point of our discussion today. But before we do, let us just briefly explain how the universes are created out of the oneness of consciousness, shall we? Good. We gather you are listening. The one thing to remember is motion. Everything, everywhere is motion. Nothing, not one thing, is inert. Even the trees standing there are forever in motion. The sap runs, the leaves bloom, the leaves fall, the sap stops, but yet the tree lives, and because it lives, consciousness of a diverse sort gives it life, so that it is able to concur or be one with the workings of all living things. Nothing, we tell you, is inert. Well, you may say a plank of wood or a stone is inert, and after a fashion by men's hands does hold no life. But we tell you that anything which holds no more life energy is apt to fall apart, such as a body turning back into dust. But then dust would not exist, if it, too, were inert, and therefore would evaporate back into nothingness. So you see, all energy is a form of consciousness, and all consciousness is a form of inertia, for true inertia does simply not exist. The secret is, even perceived inertia changes form. Now, on with the topic of eternity and what it is like for the one consciousness to experience timelessness, in what you perceive as eternity. Well, once you realize the scope pleasure of being in tune with all that is the time you will experience no time at all. And how can this be, my little minions who have so very far to go? This is because timelessness is a quality unknown by distinct measures throughout the universe, because of the reality that the workings and creatings within the universe are never dormant, never static, but always work in motion, in complete cooperation with each particle, whether it be dust clouds, which are in motion therefore never inert, or the creation of the cycle of the planets around certain moons, or satellite moons around the suns and planets. All is in motion. So then, is there actually timelessness, where the consciousness experiences no such thing, as the time passing as though time were inert? No, not in the least. What happens regularly is that time itself is coordinated at diverse interludes, and these interludes are the deciding factor, because when creation occurs, say of a world and its firmament, and seems to slow down, because of catching up to do by other planetary realms and bodies, the time will seem to slow, while on other worlds nearly completed in their creation, all will seem faster in their finality, and as such it would seem time is at an all-high rate of accomplishment. So we would definitely say to you, for your limited understanding, our children, that time is nothing more than a perception as being dwelled upon as inertia, which really does not exist. Time is a scope of creational ability, and how far has the progress gone before completion? Depending upon the height of one's consciousness, can we allude to the fact that physicalness and the obstructing relativity of a person's physicalness has actually no bearing whatsoever on the illusion of timelessness and recreation of the soul back into the physical compartment, or body of being. Being is a derivative of beingness, just as time is a derivative of timelessness, which neither exist as being inert. Neither in that case are either of them separate. We tell you therefore, that timelessness and eternity are concocted to begin over and over again, without collapsing in upon one another. As dust in the grave is of a spandex type of ratio, so will the wind and the frogs gather it up again as they tunnel in and give life where there was none for a brief instance, and the crows and crocodiles loafing together in the sun give the radiation of the sun's rays, a life of their own, as they gather the energy not so much from the rays, but from the energy of the universe they reside in. And it does not matter what form you take, whether you turn to dust and lie there for a segment of time, appearing back into nothingness. We tell you that the gathering of all dust particles have life brought back into them in the immediate time, because to have form as dust, there must be no inertia. Do not therefore fry your little brains in bringing about a reasonable conquest of truth, or reality. Just take what you can and leave the rest. We will continue to feed you spoonfuls of thought, and when you are able to eat the hen that lays the little morsel of an egg, just remember, you eat that which you are, for everything is interconnected at the source, and where is that source but within yourselves, each individual? For the most part, you share the same DNA, the same atoms, the same molecules, the same of something with other life forms, and nothing we tell you is inertia for long, for all forms have life and consciousness of some form or another, and this is what distinctly, now listen to us here, distinctly means, the oneness of creation in its total understanding, action, and beingness. Jamie, love of ours, boy, bring this to the forefront. Good day, good evening, and most importantly of all, good afternoon for those in the twilight of your lives, for you have much more to learn, and we have all enjoyed in our oneness of relationship toward you, our creation, and our forebearers, teaching the reality of which, we hope, more than one or two will gain and understand some small aspect of. You are most clever, and we would like to tell you that, our adored ones, for you are born of the flesh and the water of ourselves, and we know what you are made up of, even though the majority of you do not. Good day, Euthrania and Jamie. Godspeed, as they say, this work to the net. Mancharians over and very out for this day of your night. Please sign off for us, son, and remember, your rank is not necessary with ourselves, the one consciousness of humankind with you both.
Tying off for the Mancharians at telepathic wave frequency Creole Nebula 6 and signing out for 14 p.m.
Tie-off scribed by Jamie Sentana-Ries Cortez.